Welcome, everybody. I just hit the record button, so we're good. I can rip the record paper off. We're good. So I hope everybody had a great week. And before I want to just check in with everybody to see if there's any questions of last week or anything that's happened with anybody this week too. Phyllis, I think it was Phyllis that sent me an email, which was really interesting, and it actually, Phyllis, made me think, and I'm gonna have you bring it up quickly in a second, but I just wanted to say that two things. Last week when I was talking about signs and talking about the intent and the energy and the feeling, one thing that I think I wanted to really bring home to everybody is that, and I may have said this last week, I don't think I did, is that when I posted that, let me just grab the last people in here. So Tammy, okay. Tammy is here. And we're just waiting for, I think, Kristen. So perfect. Tammy's here. Good. And let me see. Okay. When I posted that video that I shared with all of you guys, I look back at the comments. I made comments on the video, but I had a ton of messages via Facebook, through Instagram about that, the geese video. And I am shocked. I said to Elix, 90% of those comments, not one person commented about the process of getting the geese to come. 90% were just, it's a beautiful video. I love the geese. I love the water. Not to say that not 90% of them didn't have it in their head, but I think a good portion of them did. The reason why I say that is that I just randomly picked 3 people that sent me messages, people that I know follow me and that I don't know them, like we don't chat each day. They don't have my cell phone, but I just reached out to them and I asked them the same exact question about their take on that video. 3 out of 3 said they didn't connect. Even though what I wrote on, and I know some of you may not be on social media, but what I wrote there was this whole explanation, like of what I shared in the class, right, last week, about just how I got that to happen. And even with that said, and even 3 of them that made comments about, that's so beautiful, I love geese, not one of the 3 said anything about the process of energy, intent, and feeling to get that there. That was the whole purpose for me, is to say, it works. It works for not just, connecting to Mother Nature. It works in our lives. And that, I just wanted to bring that up at the beginning of this class, because I am telling you that that is such a big, like, it's a barrier for people, that people just don't get it. And I don't know. I mean, I didn't go into specifics and ask them why they didn't. I just asked them. And I think I come back to so much of this is that, number one, if someone's not connected, they're a little bit more removed, like unlike you guys here. But number 2, I think it just goes back to people think it's too easy. How is that going to work? How am I going to just connect to energy, connect to intent, and connect to feelings to get that to be done? And this morning, I decided to go out to the back, and I had in bed to meditate where I usually meditate. And I did my same little spiel in a quicker way, though. And I want to talk to you guys about if any experiences you had. So I did the same thing about Mother Nature, and I went out there. I will be very honest, I was a little taken back because my phone rings and Helix is telling me that, oh, the cops are in the driveway. Did you set the alarm off? Yeah, I set the house alarm off, right? So that was just one little thing that kind of threw me a little bit, but we got that all taken care of. And I said, let me get back on track. I meditated, I walked the cranberry bog, and I got all the way home, and nothing happened like the last time. But I refused to believe or think that this doesn't work. And I said, you know what? I know that means that it's going to happen at some other point soon. So I come into the house, I come upstairs to the bedroom, and I happen to be coming almost out of the bedroom, and I look through the sliders in the bedroom, and there's this little bird. I'm going to send you the video, and I know you're probably saying, stop sending me videos, but I have to. So I looked at this little bird was on the banister, and I think the video is 2 minutes, if not more than 2 minutes. And this little bird on the banister, just, you got to see him. Looking at me through the slider, like, and then turning his head and looking this way for 2 minutes. He didn't go anywhere. And then his boyfriend, girlfriend, I don't know, came, a red one, and they both stayed there. But I thought, oh my God, so that just goes to show you, when you really believe this, regardless of, as I mentioned about signs, if you're asking for a blue jay and you see a feather on your front porch, that's a, you know, that's significant, because it's just sort of like a branch off the bird. Same thing here. That little bird, to me, was just as incredible as the geese. I mean, it wasn't like a showstopper like these 10 geese, which was really cool. But that little bird, the way it was like a dog. I don't know if anyone's dog people, but you know, when you say something to a dog, they look like this and they turn their heads. That was really, really cool to watch. And I just thought, I gotta share this with these guys, because the whole point of this and why I'm doing it is to get you better connected and honed in. And that piece, and that's why I focused on it last week, is so, so big. And people, I'm like scratching my head, like people don't get it. They just don't understand it, or they think it's too simple, and it just doesn't really, it doesn't sink into people. So, and before I open this up, I just want to tell you too, that one thing that you've got to make sure you do not do when you're listening to any stories or experiences people had, because they've had, I mean, there's so many people have had great experiences, is that you can't compare yourself. Because I guarantee you that if you're hearing somebody that, again, had another experience, or somebody else tonight tells you, let me just grab the last person in here, Kristen. Perfect. That, oh my God, they had something like fantastic. I didn't. It's one of two things. It's either you're absolutely getting signs because your loved ones know you're in this class, and this is like for them on steroids, right? They're prepped, they're primed for these. So you're missing it, because I think of Kristen Woodward, because she's got 700 kids. I'm just kidding, Kristen. She's got these beautiful, beautiful, like 5 kids, which are adorable. And I know her husband, who they're just like great, great people. But I just think something like Kristen, she's got a baby. There's a lot going on in her life. And just like with everybody else. So you're missing it, or what they're doing, your loved ones are prepping you for something, because the way you connect is different from somebody else. Somebody may be clairvoyant, that boom, can get something very quickly. They can be clairaudient, that they hear things, but someone may be, more empathetic, or more of, an empath, or clear knowing, or clear feeling, which is a little bit different. So, and spirit takes a little bit of time to sort of kick that in, but lo and behold, it's there. So let me just start with any questions at all from last week at all in reference to the materials we went over. I know there was a lot that we went through. Any questions on that? Deborah.
So I wanted to comment on your geese story and the energy and intent, and you're feeling like maybe people think it's just too easy. And I sort of flip that a little bit when I think about it, is that people may think it's too complicated, that they don't even try, that the mystical should just be mystical, it should just happen, right? And that's the miracle when it happens. You don't have to do anything. And I don't think people recognize that to do this, I mean, you may have an innate gift, but you do have to hone your skills. You do have to practice it. That's what I'm learning a lot more in this class, is that I have had those little bits here and there, but since this class, the floodgates have opened.
I love it.
I can't even, I mean, honestly. And as you were saying that, a couple of things came to mind about, and I know this is getting on to next week, so I'll finish the comment about the geese. But I also think too, when you were talking about, you went out to the cranberry bog, right? And the police came and the alarm sounded. I immediately took that as a sign. The alarm sounding, it's going to come next.
You know what, Deborah, I love that. And I love, I love that you also share the other side of what I was talking about, people thinking it's too easy, because, I think it boggles my brain that this is something that's so incredible for people, that how is it not landing, and how is that that video not giving me what I thought it would have given. So I absolutely agree with you that it could absolutely be the opposite, that, you know, it also could even be people that are not open to spirit, right? That just don't believe.
Agreed.
They just think that should, like you mentioned, Deborah, should stay where it should stay. And that when we die, and that's it. So no, that's a very, very good point. And you know, one of the things too that spirit has teaches me a lot is we don't have a lot of time here, and stop sweating the small stuff. Because if this was a couple of years ago, I would have been, you know, I probably would have freaked out on Elix. And this poor guy is, you know, he's in Texas, he's working with clients. But you know, the thing was, I can't get there. I'm too far out. The cops will leave. They'll check it out. And I mean, what can I do, right? I made a mistake. It happened. So it's just one of the things that spirit tells me all the time. And everyone here should, am I missing somebody? It says, Terry into the room.
I'm trying to get on through my computer.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Thank you.
That's okay, Terry. Thank you. In any case, anything else about last week's material? Go ahead. Yeah. Yes, Priscilla.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were calling me.
Yes, I saw that hand.
Okay, my question was, well, it wasn't I guess it's a question. I really enjoyed the chakra meditation, and I wanted to know how often you think we should be doing that. Is there like a set thing, or just do it when you feel like you need to do it? Would you suggest doing it weekly?
Yeah, you know what? That's a great question, Priscilla. And I think it goes back to the individual person. How that came about, the chakras, is that, you know, I think I mentioned that I changed my meditations. I literally just go on YouTube and just pick something. And I know I brought that up before. And thank you for the ones that I shared. But I was connecting, like not feeling too hot, like my neck wasn't feeling well, like it was very sore, and I was petrified, as I mentioned before, about sinus issues coming back. And I just thought, you know, I really need to make sure I focus back on these chakras and make sure they're balanced, and make sure I remember the connection between the chakras and the physical aspects of our bodies. And it just helped so much. So to answer your question, that's something that, you know, is really up to each individual person, because I got to be honest, Priscilla, there are just so many meditations to balance your chakras, meditation to connect to your soul, to connect to your higher conscious. It just goes on and on and on. And I think sometimes some people will love doing like meditation for chakras every Tuesday and get very set into that, which I think is great. And some others will just want to keep changing it and seeing what's out there and figuring it out. And so I hope that answers the questions.
No, that does. The one thing I did notice is when we were doing it last week, I got really, really hot. Like I felt super hot. Like I thought, oh my gosh, do I need to go have a cold shower? Like I was so hot after that. I was just, is that normal? Is that just the energy?
No, that's very, very normal. Even teaching, because even though I'm not doing readings, I'm teaching and connecting to spirit. So even sitting here, which is a beautiful temperature, even last week when I got up, I could feel like sweat on my back. And that's just because of spirit. It's just, there's a lot of energy coming. And remember, like all you guys are connected. So when you're taking this class, all your loved ones, again, are on alert. They're like, this is the time, because it's almost like, you're not just privy to it, but you're the closest, whether you know it or not, the closest you've been, because it's on your mind, right? You're taking a class, you're learning. So it's like all these little energy pockets open up, and your loved ones are right here. So yeah, and energy is heat. You know, I mean, I remember, not that I usually do this and talk about another medium, because I'm the best. I'm just kidding. But there's a TV show, the young, I was gonna say the little boy, the young kid. I can't remember his name. That he's a medium. Tyler. In one of the episodes, I mean, I think I watched one episode, and he's looks very cute and clearly knows what he's doing. But one of the episodes I watched is that someone had to go get him, like, to pat him down. He was sweating. And he's the medium, right? I mean, that happens. And, you know, that's just, it's all energy. It's energy. And then I turned it off, not because he wasn't great, but I'm like, I do not need to be seeing like I'm doing 100 people and I start sweating, right? I don't need to see that. So, but that is perfectly normal. The opposite is normal too, that you may get your hands freezing when you do this too, which is when Elix will definitely attest to you that if I'm about to do a group or do a reading, if you touch my hands, they're ice. Because I don't know why, it's just everyone's different, right? Everyone connects differently. So, but great question, Priscilla.
Thank you.
Anything else from last week? I will tell you, and Kristen McKim, I was going to go to you because I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot, but you've got to share that email with people, because when I read that and Elix was next to me, I'm like, wow.
Well, this is where I don't want to like put it out there that I don't trust what I got, but I need my crazy mind. I need to say that was real. That happened. So I was sitting on the couch Thursday night and I could feel as if like there was a cat sitting on the back of the couch, and I had looked and nothing was there. And then out of the left corner of my eye, I could see it was if my cat would be sitting there by the window. So I just tried to feel the energy and breathe and share my intent that she was welcome to come visit me. And then it had disappeared, and it was almost as if she had come up on the sofa with me. And I got this insane amount of butterflies in my stomach. I couldn't tell you the last time I had butterflies, like full on butterflies. And it was almost like she brushed across my face, and my lips were really itchy and like almost like irritated, like swollen. And that was it. And I just kind of like thanked her for being there and coming to visit me. But I'm like, am I crazy? Like, did that really happen? Can that happen?
And Kristen, didn't you say that? Did you tell me that in that email that sometimes you have a reaction to cats?
Yeah, I'm allergic to cats.
Yeah, so that's the piece that also everyone needs to know is that, and the reason why I know, here's your validation. The reason why I know that was absolutely true with your kitty was that when I read that email, I had one, it's not about me, but it's a validation for you, is that one of our dogs, Rico, who like I was extremely close to, we're close to all our dogs, but very close to Rico. I had one visit from him, not a dream, but a visit. And in the visit, I was sleeping and I picked him up like this, and I was holding on him like, Rico, and his little mouth opened and talked and said, Rico, and then it just disappeared. And I knew it was a visit. When I read that email, I flashed in front of me Rico, and I'm thinking, oh my God, that's Kristen's spirit, her kitty, and all her loved ones saying, tell her it's real, tell her it's real. And I got to be honest, Kristen, number one, I think I responded to you that the hardest thing to connect with are animals. They just are. And the fact that you actually had your cat like there with you, not only they go by you, but you have a physical reaction to it, which is really what's called morphing, right? I mean, like spirit can, usually that's in like the physical mediumship piece when in trance and whatnot, but clearly morphing can happen. The fact that you had that and had a reaction to it is phenomenal. And I remember saying to you, my God, this is one that you need to write down. And this is also one that if I'm not there to slap you across the back of your head when you think you're not trusting yourself, that you're connected, you need to look at that to say, Kristen, that does not happen to the normal average person. It just doesn't. And just like last week, I think there's Tammy had like validation. I mean, so much stuff that people have talked about. That's that you're here because you're not in the mainstream. You're not in the main realm. And the more, again, you validate and you trust, the more you're going to keep getting. So, and I know it can be hard. It can be frustrating. And I talked about the comparison because I remember taking a class, my first class, and like these people were coming back the next week. There was like the 6 of us, I think. And it was before Zoom, and it was just like a conference call. The instructor just said, any connections? And like there were one after another, after another, and after another. And I'm like, I got nothing. I have nothing to share. And I almost felt like I should make something up. And I'm like, I can't. I can't. But I almost wanted to because I felt dumb. I felt like, I'm not supposed to be here. But there's a reason for that, as I mentioned. So Kristen, I'm sorry if I put you on the spot, but
No.
I could not wait to like get you on here and to share that story, because that the spirit plus the physical reaction is extraordinary. It's just so wild. It's so wild. So Priscilla.
I have to tell you, as you just said, I didn't know if I should be there. I swear to God, I just heard geese. I'm not lying. I heard honk, 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 and I'm like, that's for you, Stephen.
I
Isn't
love
that funny? I was just
I
like, I had
I
to tell
love
you.
that.
There you
I
go.
love that.
There's a validation for you.
Priscilla, that's the best thing that it's just, it is, because that's my
There's your
mom's
mom.
connection to me, right? So the fact that you just said that, and then, you know, you could have waited till the end of the reading in case I start crying, because I told you I
Sure.
cry at Bambi. But
Sure.
thanks, Priscilla. I love that connection, and I love how, you know, that's what we do, you know, as psychics, mediums, is that spirit uses us to give, you know,
Yeah.
give
It was
messages.
just
and
when you're
give-
saying you didn't know if you should be there, honk, honk, and I was like, I'm sorry, I have to tell you that.
I love that. That's the best. It really is. And my mom's here, so it's great. But anybody else want to share? Anybody else questions? Anything before we start moving forward? Deborah.
So I want to share something that you talk about not trusting the gifts. I've always had that sense of sort of here and there knowing things, and I've always felt that it's more, I'm an empath part of the person. But I have to tell you that this week I was having a conversation with somebody who is generally very closed with their emotions. And he seemed to be, fairly preoccupied and upset. Told me a little bit about something else that was going on.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting next to him, and I put my hand out like this, almost where his heart is. And right out of my mouth, I said, "You're thinking about the accident you just had, and how it's impacted your whole life." And his eyes welled up and he just started to cry.
Wow.
I have never been that specific with and he goes, "How do you know that?" I said, I just know it with certainty. It was the first time I had this element of certainty to it. I've sort of trusted it, thought it might be right, even when people have said it's been right. But this time it was like a pole stood in the ground that said, yes, this is certain.
Deborah, I love that. And I that is a great example too, because it happens with us, but there's times that, when we feel something like what you just said, Deborah, and but we don't say anything. And it could be one of those incredible explosive things like what just happened with Deborah, you and your friend. And that it's sort of, it's even though you picked up on it, but you didn't get it validated, it was still there. But sometimes people just, because it's not validated, they just, it's just one of those things that, you just want to remember stuff, like Deborah, just like I told Kristen, that's one of the things that you've got to jot down and write down and make sure you keep with you. Because also what happens in these classes is that these gifts that are dormant are start opening up, and stuff that maybe, that's never happened to me before. And just saying that's exactly what happens. And that's when you're taking the class, and,
I think the tears were the validation too.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And I love that. And I love these stories. And it's just, again, it's just a proof of just all of you guys being connected. And really, you're holding the reins, in that the way this works is depending on how much you want to put into this and how much you trust. So, Tammy, I'm going to have a problem watching that cute face, just saying, for me to concentrate, just saying.
He keeps budging into the room,
It
and
must be spirit.
he visits his baby that we lost, and this is the third time now tonight he is nudging into the room, so he wants to be here.
I love that. I love that. All right, so if we're all good, I'm gonna stop with this. I'm gonna make sure that everybody is muted so that we don't hear stuff. Unless you have questions, you can stop me and just raise your hand or just unmute and say Stephen. So this third class is really, it's really important about these signs. And I know I put these categories, seeing the signs and connecting to spirit, because I'm gonna get into this and I mean, why? But I was thinking, today at some point, actually when I was at the Cranberry Bog, I was just thinking, I do so many readings and I do so many validations. Today's radio show was incredible. People, the spirit validated so amazing, so many amazing things with these callers. But then I just thought, I love doing what I do, clearly. But how much do me seeing signs outside of doing readings affect me? And I got to be honest, they affect me a lot, because so many times, even for myself, if I'm down, if I'm sad, or if I'm even really in a great mood and I get a sign, my grandma Rose is 333, and I'm sure maybe someone else has a 333 for somebody. My mom is, as Priscilla connected with, the geese. So I love, when I see that, but there's these different, like I get signs all the time and they're so important to me. And I just started thinking, the obvious that they're important to me, but for somebody who's in this realm of wanting to hone in on their gifts and get better at what their gifts are and their talents and their connections, it's so big, because it's like the signs are like someone just giving you a slap on the back, like a validation or a touch on the head, or it's motivating. It gets me like with so much enthusiasm, and it sort of like puts me on a pedestal that I got to be fortunate enough to see a sign. And I wanted to talk about the signs, and I know I talked about how you get the signs with what we talked about last week with intent and energy and feeling, because it's so important as any and each one of you goes on after this class, and that to keep making sure you get that reinforcement, that motivation, is that you get the sign. So you already got the first piece of that with the intent and the energy and the feeling, but this second piece that we're going to talk about with signs is really important. So I know I talked at the beginning of this, spirits talking to me, which they never do. I have, like, they think I'm doing readings, and I'm like, please, this is not that time. But they didn't do this the first two classes, and they're starting to push through. And so let me just make sure they're moved and they're gone and they are. Well, as far as they're going to go. But in the documentation I sent, see, I can't even think of the word because Spirit's talking to me. Not documentation. You know what I'm talking about, what I sent you. I put here about the going outside. I was eating a grapefruit. This is the God's honest truth. I was halfway through my grapefruit and something just said, throw the garbage out. I'm like, all right. And I went through the garbage out. I walk out and these 10 geese just come flying over me. And I needed to put in here that we have cameras outside the house, and I didn't even realize it until later. I happened to look at the video just because, overnight we get a lot of animals that I love watching, raccoons and opossums and whatnot, that the cameras picked up. And lo and behold, you see me, I'm like the garage, like the driveway, you see me walking out with the garbage, you see me drop the garbage in this camera, and you see me like, I'm like, if someone saw me like outside, they would think this guy, something's mentally wrong with him. Because I'm looking up, I'm like, yay, and that's all you see me doing. I was so excited about the geese. But why I wanted to also go a little bit further about the connection to spirit is when I got back in the house, and I think this is what happens with me sometimes, and a lot of people that are not, they're in the mainstream, or you guys that are like elevated above the mainstream, is that you get this great sign, or you get a sign, and then it's almost like, thanks mom, thanks dad, thanks grandma, thanks my dog or cat, whichever it is. And so then it's like you get that sort of reward, and then you sort of then, it's almost like we shut it down in reference to seeing the next sign. And that spirit, what I've experience, and this is, got to be honest, this is new for me, that only over the past, I would probably say 6 months, this has happened, and I've realized this, is that when spirits got you in the present, because I know I put in here, and we're going to talk about you can't see signs unless you're in the present, when they've got you there, they will utilize that. So what a lot of people miss is that there's another sign coming. So I get the geese, I look like a fool on camera, applauding. I come in to finish my second half of the grapefruit, and I come in, and on TV was Everybody Loves Raymond, and it was, I don't know if anyone's watched that, doesn't really matter, but the two characters, Raymond and another neighbor, were sitting on a couch, and they were talking about the wife upstairs, and the Raymond said something, and the other one that was sitting next to him said, should I make bird calls or bird noises? And he looks at him and says, what do you think, my wife's geese or a goose? And I looked at it and I'm like, oh my God, my mom is she's continuing with these signs. And I will tell you that only because of the last 6 months, I would have picked that up. Normally, I wouldn't have picked that up. I would have just heard it, but even being in the present, I would have heard it, but it wouldn't have connected because I was still on a high from this extravagant experience with these geese. So someone on Everybody Loves Raymond yelling out a goose is not the same as 10 of them above me. They were so close, like right above me, like squawking and screaming. And I got me, like I said, visually on the camera. So when I come back in, that's not something that is going to stand out. But what I'm finding, and something that's really important for you guys to know, is that if you get something, be just open for, in a similar time frame, and I can't tell you whether it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's not about that, but it's usually, from my experience, it's close. That happened. I think I put this on social media, that Elix and I were watching TV one night, and I don't know, something came on, a commercial came on, and someone just yelled out, "Will!" And I looked at Elix, I'm like, oh, that's my dad. My dad's name was Billy or William. And most people, or a lot of people, would just think that's just a commercial that they called the guy, right? So I picked that up, and then once my father knew I picked that up and that it was a sign for me, we were watching Match Game. And again, this is a judgment-free place, right? So no judgment about us watching Match Game from 1970 something. But Elix and I find it relaxing at night. We watch Match Game on YouTube, and it's kind of funny. It's really funny. So we're watching Match Game, and this is what I posted on Instagram and Facebook. If you're on there, if you saw it, is that right after I said to Elix, I think it was my dad's birthday. I can't remember, but I said, I know that was my dad. Thank you, Dad. I love that you're here. And then we put Match Game on, and the first round of questions was, the answer was Bill. Everybody answered Bill, but it was about a bill, not a name bill, just like a paying bill. I don't remember the question. And when it got to the last person, which was Betty White, I can't remember it all, but she referenced, she had the answer Bill, but she also referenced like Bill and something like, and I love Bill, like the name Bill. And I looked at Elix, and of course at this point, the Puerto Rican is so used to me, and he goes right along the ride with me, right? So he loves spirit, and he gets to understand this. And he looks at me, and I'm like, second sign. And again, that would have been, I knew the first one was for me, and I would have easily overlooked that, because the bill was not about like the name bill. It was about paying a bill. That's what it was. Like there was something about the landlord gives you a bill or something like that. Just keep in your head, because this is all about these signs are so crucial for people. I mean, I had an hour of Through the Static right before this class started, of the show starts at 5 o'clock. My producer told me the first call was 20 past 4. And Mark said, he does not start taking calls to 5:15. I'll hold. That's the importance of people wanting to hear from their loved ones. And he said 10 minutes after that, another woman called. I'll hold. And they held. And I got to do an incredible reading. But people, and I think it's also because of like just this, again, this world, there's just so much going on. We need to connect and know that our loved ones are there, that there's a place that the amazing place we're going to, but that we right now have our loved ones. And it is such a soothing feeling to know that they're here, and that when we are in a bad place, we get to reach out and ask them to give us signs and be with us and help us and guide us and all that kind of stuff. So signs for you guys taking this class are one of the most important things. And I was just thinking too today that if this was 2 years ago that I did this class, I'm not sure signs would even have been in this class, because there's so much to talk about at an intermediate level. But that's the understanding I have, and what you need to know to keep going, and not have that lag of time of I'm getting nothing and I'm starting to feel like this, like I'm not connected. And that's what I don't want. And those signs, I mean, honestly, you don't need that, but those signs are the ones that just pull you back up, which is amazing. So, so here I put connection to spirit and getting signs. It's a skill that needs to be practiced. I already talked about the pick me up and just what these signs do and how they make you feel. But just to make sure I don't miss anything, I put here's some things that you feel when you're seeing signs. Validates that you're getting signs from spirit, makes you feel good that your loved ones are around. It's a motivation for you to keep honing in on your skills. It builds your confidence and trust that you're connected to spirit. The more signs you validate, the more signs you will receive, and it gets easier to observe them. And that's one thing too that I will make sure I bring this whole conversation, to this part too, is that everything I just said, the more signs you get, the more signs you will keep getting. The more validations, but you've got to get into a habit of, you don't have to jump up and down like a 4-year-old like me seeing geese, like, yay! But you have to thank whoever it is, even if you don't know who it is, just thank spirit. Thank you for that sign. I mean, so many times I just say, this is how I feel when I get a sign. And I did that with the geese with my mom. I'm like, Amma, I feel honored that that you got me out of my grapefruit eating to go throw the garbage out to see the geese. I said, I feel so honored for you and everybody else that gives me signs, and the people I don't even know when I'm doing readings. It's an honor for me. And I just hope I uphold that gift that you've given me. That acknowledgement, that hands down gives you the next sign more quicker and keeps going and going and going and going. And it's not like spirit is just waiting, like I'm not doing any more unless you validate me. If you don't say thank you, you're not getting anything else. You're being punished. It's not the way it works. But I think when you validate it, it just opens up. I always say that, if a door is just ajar, just a little bit, when you validate, it opens a little more. And then the next time, a little more. And the door is you want open to be able to, that's like the portal between us and spirit. So you want that, like not even a door on it. You want the doorway just completely open. So you're constantly connecting. So, and one thing I realized in the last 2 classes too, sometimes I should stop and just make sure, because I just keep going and I get excited because I'm so excited about the stuff and teaching. So if anything doesn't make sense, just stop me at all. So I think we're all good. I see smiles. Deborah, go ahead.
I have a question. Well, I have 2 questions. So you just said it. So I've been seeing signs. I've seen them for a long time. I've known what they are, but I don't always know who's sending them. And I have sort of like a group now that has passed over of my loved ones. And each individually is a powerhouse in their own right. Like, and putting them together. And sometimes if the sign isn't something directly associated with that person, like you can't miss it, like I'll know it's a sign, but I won't know who sent it. And so you just said, just thank spirit. Is there a way to, I don't know, say thank you spirit and then ask for clarification?
You can, that's a great question, Deborah. You can ask, and that's part of here about, signs and asking your loved ones in spirit to send you a sign or give you a sign. You can ask anything and everything that you want. But there's times, I mean, I'll tell you, this weekend, Elix and I went to Home Goods, and the line was huge, and I'm standing there, and if I'm idle in a line of people in front of me and behind me, chances are I'm going to be reading somebody. And then everyone in the line's listening and everyone wants to get read, and that's not saying I'm not saying that as an ego. I'm just saying that's what I do, right? Because that's what I do. It's like just doing a job. We were in Home Goods, and I had a brother who just kept saying, "I'm the brother. I'm the brother." He was showing me a baseball hat, and I, for the life of me, could not figure it out. There was a woman in front of me. There was a woman behind me. Well, actually, they were together. There was like, it looked like both were a mother and daughter and a mother and daughter. I didn't know, and I was like I couldn't stand still, and I kept saying, "Oh my God, do I go here? Do I go there?" I couldn't figure it out, and then the line just kept moving. And there's sometimes that, even for me, you just have to chalk it up to validating the brother that came through, because even though I didn't share that with anybody, because I really didn't know, and I was toggling back and forth, should I tell them, should I tell them? And then the line moved, and then eventually, before I even got a chance to, the people in front of us got called, and they started, getting rung up. So I really couldn't, and I didn't know which one it was, and I just said, I love your energy. I'm talking to the brother. I love your hat, and I love that you came to me. That alone, and maybe this in an indirect way may answer the question, gave him, he hugged me, was so thankful. And I didn't do anything. Like, I didn't validate anybody, but I validated him, and he knew I heard him. And it just is, it's a way that me even opening that up, just also sort of what I felt was what I just explained to you, was sort of like a motivator to him to try even harder to get to his mom or sister, whoever it was. So that validation gave him so much. And you know what, Deborah, that some days you've got to just chalk it up to, I don't know. And at the beginning of when I became a medium, it happened all the time. And it was the most frustrating thing for me, that I could feel someone. I got sometimes to a point that I knew it was a woman, and I'd be like, who are you? Are you my grandmother? Like, give me more, give me more. And, as the gift keeps getting better and better and better, but I think that's a great thing to do, is ask that question. Give me another sign, and don't put so much pressure on yourself right then. Just say, all right, I think you're a woman. So at some point, like in the near future, give me something else to connect with. And that's why it's so imperative to write stuff down. I showed you my diary last week, and I'm into a second diary, is that you can go back to it and see and connect, because ultimately you're going to forget as you keep getting these things. You're going to forget, like, even these small things. Like if I happened to write that experience with the geese, I would absolutely include when I came back in and heard the geese from Everyone Loves Raymond, because it was something that was connected to my mom, but that also could be the next day, could be something like, I'm in line again for something, and someone's in front of me. These two guys are talking, saying, I heard about your or did you hear about such and such's dad that died? Oh my God, yeah, that's so sad. And he was his son Raymond Jr. And then my antennas would go off, like, oh my God, that's the sign, Raymond, because it came from Everyone Loves Raymond. That's how it works. It's never ending. It's all connected. It's all together. But those questions are great questions to ask. Ask spirit. That's what you need to do. So, but just be prepared that you're not going to get answers. I mean, I have read people, and someone will say, I just have one question, well, my sister's one-eyed parrot when we were kids, what was its name? And I'm like, oh dear God, like, I can ask, but I mean, is that going to actually come? I don't know. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So, because they're not on demand. So, but if you don't ask, you don't have a chance to get the answer. And usually the answer will come, but not on demand. It will come at a later point. So if that answers the question. So
Thank you.
perfect. So let's just go here to steps to help you connect to spirit. The one, ask your loved ones in spirit for a sign. That's something that a lot of people just wait to get, or I get so many people in readings. A lot of times when I do groups, that when people come up to me after the group and will say to me, can you give me like an exercise, a hint, how do I see my loved ones? I don't see anything. I don't feel anything. And no one ever thinks about, ask them. But ask your mother, ask your father, whoever is in spirit, ask your dog, ask your cat. It doesn't matter. Just ask them for a sign. And I guarantee you, again, it's not on demand. It will come. The spirit hears you. They're just waiting. They live vicariously through us. So they're just next to us, listening, waiting, and just asking, or not asking, but waiting for you to ask, if you need help, if you need guidance, if you need a sign. So that's something that, and I think I talked about with the bird, the variation is so important. So if you're asking for, say, a bird, just make sure you don't disregard the feather, because sometimes that's just the way spirit can get enough energy that's close enough to be like that lone long feather on your step of your porch when you're coming in. Instead of the actual bird, it represents the bird. It really is the same thing. So you got to make sure that that variation you're also open to. And I don't know if I told you last week or it's in here at some point, but even like if you're, I don't know, I think it may be in this lesson or next lesson, I don't know. But I said something about yellow, in that you, like, if you're asking for yellow and you see sunflowers, it's a variation of yellow. That's how this works. Also to listen, it says the best way to listen is to meditate. There's no way around it. Meditation is the key. It just is. I mean, it's like somebody that's talented, that wants to become a pianist, wants to be a prodigy, wants just to be like the best. And there's one piano at the library. So once a week they have to go there because they don't have a piano. You take that piano away, it's going to be very difficult for that person, obviously, to get where they want to go. Same thing. Piano player, piano. Honing in your gift, knowing what your gifts are, getting better at your craft, meditate. It's just the way it is. Meditating just brings you into that soul level, to that conscious level. As Priscilla asked about the chakras, doesn't matter what meditation. It doesn't matter if you're doing the meditation we did last week with chakras. You're meditating. You're bringing your sense, your essence, your soul, your being into a place that is more closely connected to spirit in those energy pockets I talked about last week or 2 weeks ago. And it's more familiar. It's closer. And you're also knocking out all the chatter in your brain. You're calming everything down, which is like a buffet for spirit. It's just they're coming in because they're like, oh my God, there's no more chatter. So we can really get in and talk to them. And but that meditation piece is huge. I put in here automatic writing. I don't know if everyone has heard about automatic writing, but it is such a great way to connect to spirit, and it's so easy to do. Then I put a lot of instructions of what you need to do. Again, make sure also that you sort of get in a habit of anything that you want to connect with spirit and everything else also in your life. But I'm talking about spirit. Make sure you do that intent and the energy and the feeling. Even if it's not something that you feel like, say you're just meditating and you want to connect to your mom, you can just do a quick intention, but don't miss out on that word intention. My intention today, before through the static, as I always do before I put the headphones on, my intention is to give every single person that gets through, that I speak to, the reading that blows them away on the psychic level, the mediumship level, and Philip and Dylan, my guides, and everybody else. Make sure that I'm only giving messages for the person I'm on the phone with, because spirit's crazy. And they're like, my daughter's next, so I'm going to start giving you the messages. And the person I'm talking to is like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I do not have a brother. And then the next, you don't have a brother, Bob. And then the next call is like, that's my brother, Bob. So I try to keep them one call at a time. But again, spirit doesn't always work that way. But that intention piece is huge. And the automatic writing, if you haven't tried it, give it a shot. Just I like the bigger pads. Like, and you can even get these big pads at the dollar store, which is so cheap. And that do your intent. I mean, in an automatic writing scenario, I would do the full thing. I would connect start with your energy and say that what you're about to do is to connect with your loved ones. Your energy is already with spirit, right? We're all energy, so we're already connected. Then do your intent if there's a particular person or just you want to connect to spirit, and then feel what it's going to feel like at the end of that automatic writing. If you do, and when you do get something on there, how excited you are and what you may tell your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whomever it is. It's a great way to set you up. You're already set up in a good place. But that automatic writing is that it is like you're doodling. That's it. You just sort of, when you put when you have your hand with the pen or pencil, whichever you're using, with a piece of paper, and you start just circling, or you can do X's or whatever it is. It's great to like just start like almost opening up with circles. And as you're doing it, part of the intention I always do when I do automatic writing is that I also, with the energy and intention, it's more about feeling, but I also think I see, or I know that I see my dad or my mom or my grandparents, their hand doing this, and then their hand grabbing the pen and doing this. All that intention and energy and stuff and feeling is really great to do with automatic writing. And then you sort of like focus on your breathing as your hands just moving. I don't know, the way I sound like I'm saying it sounds like it's complicated, but it's not. And you just focus on your breathing and sort of let it go, and just let your hand go, and try not to focus exactly what your hand's doing. Clearly, you're moving in and you've got the pen, but you will be shocked at eventually, and not all people have something the first time. They look at it, yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's circles. There's nothing. But as you do it and you try it several times, and you just make sure you clearly trust in it, don't get frustrated, do that intention and do that, I guarantee you'll start getting things, and you'll get some things that you have no idea what they are. You may see in the corner a 7. You may think, I don't know what 7 is. I don't have anything in July. I don't have anything on the 7th, but you write it in the journal and you keep it with you. And that the next time could be something else that connects and gives you something else for the 7. But that's how automatic writing works. You also, I have to make sure I tell you that before you do that, you also always do the power of 3 and the clearing and the grounding and the protecting, because much like a Ouija board, automatic writing is the same thing. Ouija boards, for me, if I walk into a house, if I walk into a store, immediately I'll sense there's a Ouija board there and I get the hell out of there. It's just me. Ouija boards are open. They're like this mechanism that is just right for low energy and not white light. And people that just play with it, that they have no intent, no like bad intent, no, I want the devil to come at all. They just want to play with it, just like I did when I was a kid. But that, I mean, unless you know what you're doing, I'm not a big fan of a Ouija board. But automatic writing and all these mechanisms are the same way. You're connecting to spirit, so you've got to make sure you're protected, especially you guys that have that heightened connection to spirit, because you do not want low energy or anything else trying to infiltrate or penetrate your energy at all. But do the when you get a chance, try that on just by a show of hands. Has anybody done automatic writing? So Terry and Phyllis, is just the two of you. Did I miss any hands? So you guys have tried it. I don't know if you liked it or you didn't like it, but I think it's just a great thing just to try out. I'm really excited that both of you guys have done it. I didn't think anybody did. Here, number 4, as I pass, I gave instructions here, everything you need to know about automatic writing. But again, it's cheap, it's easy. You sit on a kitchen table, dining room table, doesn't matter. And it's really fun to do. And it also gives you that sense of connecting to spirit. Number 4 is what we talked about, the most important thing. It's almost as important as intention, is that acknowledgement from spirit, which just adds to more spirit coming, more signs coming, what we need. So I think that's self-explanatory, and I talked a lot about this. One of the, I just noticed that this life is our responsibility. Spirit's only here to guide us and give us the tools we need to keep getting better, like a therapist. They don't tell us what to do usually. There's exceptions to this. And I think Phyllis's email was connected to this, that I always say to people in readings, spirit does not tell us what to do. Because a lot of times people will come, I don't get this often, but I'll get I have a question. Like, should I get this more when I do Facebook Lives? My boyfriend cheated. Should I break up with him? I'm thinking to myself, I mean, I think that just statement alone, you should kind of assess what's going on, right? I don't think you need me to, or a medium or anybody in spirit to tell you. However, I get why people ask that, right? They're looking, they're seeking, they want some affirmations. But for me anyway, spirit doesn't do that. They'll give you hints and they'll give you winks and stuff and affirmations and validations, like you're connected. But they do intervene sometimes, especially if it's something that's at a higher level, like when you're dealing with angels. If you get into a very bad car accident and at the end of the accident or the same day or days later, and you hear the EMTs or the doctors saying they don't understand how you lived, that's intervention. That's angels. That's your loved ones. That's spirit. So they do that. But sometimes if you're getting ready to go to the store, and believe it or not, if you're thinking, I got to get milk, I'm almost out, and then your plan is to go, and then all of a sudden, tired, geez, I'll get coffee outside, I won't go, without realizing it. Not saying that it's 100%, but there's probably a very, very good chance or probability that that spirit intervening, saying that where that root is something is going to happen, something that they don't want you there at that particular time. And again, it could literally just be a regular random, I'm tired, right? No other connection, but it's just something to think about, because spirit will intervene, saying, number one, sometimes it's just that we want to help. We want to, we want to, and again, they live vicariously through us. They want us happy. They want to help. But more so, it's probably that it's a potential very bad accident or something like that. Or you leave the house and the dryer may be on and a fire starts, or whatever the case may be. It's just something that, spirit has told me countless times, which has helped so many times. Traffic. Spirit has said so many times, traffic is a reason for traffic, not always, but a lot of times when you're sitting in that traffic and you want to swear, like, this traffic, and then you're supposed to be there. Or if a car gets in front of you that's going, an old lady that's going 10 miles an hour, and you're in a rush and you want to get there and you can't, it's spirit intervening. That's what happens to make sure you hit a particular point later in a time or before a time, whatever the case may be. So that's important. And I know, I think Phyllis, you had asked about 911 when you read this, and that, I don't know if people have heard stories about when 911 happened. I remember one, just a woman, it's so long ago, but something to the effect of, I don't know if she called in or she didn't go on the plane or she didn't go to work, or that's definitely divine intervention, which I loved, Phyllis, that spirit. And the fact that they listened to it is pretty incredible. And that's what spirit does. And make sure the next one, get familiar with the word gratitude. I think I brought this up in the first class. If you're in a rotten, crabby mood, I'm telling you, just bypass the meditation, the connection to spirit until later on, until you can get out of it. And I say bypass it because we all get there, right? We'll all get aggravated and annoyed, whatever, work, family, it doesn't matter. But that's not the place to be when you're connecting to spirit, because again, it pulls you into, like, deeper into a pocket of energy that there's no spirit there. It's just other pockets of energy that is people like you, like crabby and cranky and angry and mad. The gratitude piece, when you come from that, even if you, on a daily basis, just be grateful for something. I constantly know and think and feel how grateful I am. Grateful that what I get to do, my purpose, that I love what I'm doing as a medium, and that it came later in life, but it came, and all of that kind of stuff. And I tried to think that of something to be grateful, but are there times I, want to throw the Puerto Rican out the window? Yeah, of course there are, right? I want to throw Elix out the window. Even though he's a great guy, but we all go through that, right? We all have those days that, oh my God, or you go off the handle. A couple of weeks ago, I just had to email someone who was working with me on something, and I flipped out on them because something wasn't right, and I asked 4 times, and then I had to step back and say, you know what? I'm getting what I need. And you know, we're human and we have to forgive ourselves and we got to learn. So the grateful piece is very, very good. But you know what? It's 8 o'clock. I'm going to stop at number 7 so that we can take a break and that, you know, give yourself 5-10 minutes and we will pick up as soon as we get back, if that's good. Okay. All right. That's good. And by the way, you know, this is a time too that today I'm just hanging here. So any questions? I mean, I know you guys take your break. If you want to just leave and say, Stephen, we need a break from you. You don't shut up. So, but if there is anything, I'm here.
I have a question.
Yes, Miss Phyllis.
So I actually was gonna sort of, I have a different perspective. You know how you were saying not to meditate if you're in a bad mood? So I actually, what I do is actually stop. It's usually work related. And I
Of
stop
course.
and then I meditate and I shift my mood.
See, I'm so jealous of you.
Why?
Seriously, Phyllis, I'm so jealous of you because I honestly, you know, I love that you just gave me that. It's brilliant. You know, Elix tells me that all the time when I'm in that like that mode or that mood, just go upstairs and meditate. That is a very, I think it's the minority of people that can do that. It's a very, very special thing that yourself can do that. And I just want to make sure you're aware that even if there's people that you know that do it, the majority of people, that's very, very difficult to do when you're in that place. As a medium, I can't. I don't even try because when I'm in that place, I can't even take the first steps to get into the meditation. So I love that you just gave that to me to remind me that there are people that meditation is a great thing when you're in that mood.
It is, it really helps me. So I just wanted to share that. It's a different
You know,
perspective.
and I love that. And you know that the great thing is when I teach this class the next time, I'm going to note that just to you know, because I'm sure that there's going to be people that could be in the class that exactly works for them. And I love that you said that because I would never want somebody like yourself to be in my class and feel like after what I just said, oh my God, then I need to find another way. Like when I'm in a crappy mood, I can't meditate because it's not helping me, which, you know, I say this all the time that I love learning, not from spirit, by people, and especially people that are in my class, because it's stuff I don't know. And that perspective is so great for me to get a handle on and to be able to share that and make sure I put that contingency that, but there are people that it's perfect. That's what they do, right? And I didn't bring that up. So I love that, Phyllis. That's great.
And I do want to thank you too for the cold hands comment, because my hands are always freezing. And I know mostly people get hot, right? Like I hear this all the time, but even now they're always freezing. So I appreciate
spirit.
that you shared that, because I never heard that perspective. So thank you, Stephen.
Phyllis, every single time I do readings, even if we're driving to a restaurant and Spirit already knows, they already know that whoever I'm going to have, I'm going to read, like the waiter or waitress, whatever, the staff person, I can tell my hands get cold. And when I'm doing a reading, they're like, I have no circulation. They're like frozen, you know, and Elix will always touch my hand and say, you got spirit. It's like a barometer, like for me or for Helix, he touches my hand. And if they're freezing, then he knows. So yeah, and everybody's different. Like I think your sister talked about like sweating, right? Wasn't it Phyllis?
Yeah,
I mean, Priscilla. Yeah, so everybody's different the way. And some people are not affected at all. Some people don't have that temperature feel. Sometimes some people will have pressure in their head, or like sort of. One woman told me when in my first class that after the meditation, after I started a meditation, then she started doing a meditation. It stopped, but she was a little dizzy. Like, I don't know if dizzy is the right word, but a little woozy, like after the meditation, coming out of it. And I'm like, that is absolutely makes sense, you know, because you're going into different realms, and you know, it's you're connecting to spirit. And you know, remember when you meditate, you're in a different energy pocket than you are the rest of the day. So it's different, right? And your body reacts to it differently. And also, Phyllis, I'm glad that you talked about the cold hands too, because so don't be surprised sometimes if at some point it changes and your hands are sweaty, because this connection to spirit changes constantly. I don't know if that's in next week or this week. It just is. It's different. The way you connect. I mean, when people ask me, like, how do you hear? Like, how do you connect to spirit? Like, how do you get your information? I'm like, sometimes I see it, sometimes I hear it, sometimes I feel it, sometimes I just know it. Every single reading is different, and I never know what it's going to be. And I think that was something in next week, when we get to it. I used to see movies, and in the paragraph I put, and I did get one. I don't know, a couple months ago or so. And I just remember every time it happens in my head, my eyes are always closed, but every time it happens, I'm like, don't stop. I'm just saying, please keep going, because they're so cool. It's like a little projector. And I don't know, sometimes I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. One time I just saw, it was like a road, and I was like, I felt like I was part of the car, but I wasn't in the car. And I'm just driving, and I could see all the houses. Like, I was in the car and I could see everything. I'm like, I don't know what I'm seeing. I don't know what the hell this means, but just don't stop. So, but unfortunately for me, it doesn't last too long. And so then it starts, I can feel it petering out. Like sometimes when you dream, and if you're having a great dream, like whatever the case may be, you don't want it to end. And then either you get woken up and it stops, and you're like, why'd you wake me up? Or why did I wake up? Same kind of deal. It's just constantly, it just changes all the time. And you think you know it, and then all of a sudden, boom. I just had that last week. I had someone I was reading, and I saw this thing, this symbol, and I'm like, what is that? And ultimately I got to it, but I thought hands down that I had one symbol for this particular thing. I forget what it was. No, the spirit decides just to aggravate me and give me another like little symbol. I'm like, you people know my symbol, but the thing is, there's no explanation for it either. I can't tell why. And I guess now I know another symbol, but sometimes I think spirit, well, I know spirit jokes. And one night, because I'm still waiting for people to get back. If I find the picture, I'm going to send it to you guys. One night we went out to Elix, and I went out to dinner with this couple that they lived in the cul-de-sac that we lived in when we lived in Norton. That they just came down, and we love them, and we're really close to them. We went to dinner. We were talking about spirit, which they usually don't bring up. I think the husband's afraid, but the wife did, right? We were talking about spirit, and she said something to me about something about a sign she got, and she said, Stephen, it's almost like it was my mother's personality, because my mother was hilarious, and it's like that sign fit in, that she was being humorous. And I'm like, oh my God, a spirit has an incredible sense of humor. They play with me all the time. So at the end of the night, we're getting ready to leave, and I'm like, we didn't take a picture, because I mean, I take pictures for everything, right? I have to document everything. So we get the waiter, and he's like, you know what? Go here. The waiter tells, this is a beautiful background. We take a picture, and I just briefly look, and I show everybody. And we had just come off how spirit has a sense of humor. And we get in the car. I look back at the picture, and all three, me, Elix, and the other couple, beautiful picture. Me, spirit lined me up with the lamp that's in the back with it. I gotta find it and show it to you. It looks like I've got a crown of lights on it looks like I'm nuts, first of all. And it looks like I have a crown on my head. I'm like, Elix pulled over. I'm like, you've got to pull over. And I showed him, and he was laughing hysterically. He's like, I guess they really wanted to validate that they have a sense of humor. I'm like, that picture, I can't even, how am I going to send it anywhere? How can I post it? I mean, I look nuts, like with this glowing head. It was hilarious. So spirit does that. They're funny. They're very funny, and they love to make us laugh, right? That's what it is. All right, so let me get going. I think we're missing Kristen. Everyone's here, right? I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Stephen, I just want to tell you that spirit just made me laugh big time,
Why?
because I had been reading your homework before the class, and had gotten to that part about the spiritual helper and the spiritual protector. And as soon as I read that paragraph, the name clear as a bell in my head, Jasper. Jasper, that's not some Jewish name, Jasper. Where the hell did that come from? So I just decided to look it up on the break. And it says Jasper is a stone of protection and it has been used to ward off evil spirits.
Wow.
And I wouldn't have known that if my life depended on it.
I love that, Deborah. I love that. And that's what this is all about. Just hearing those things and not second guessing them. Because do you know, like for everybody here listening, like what just happened to Deborah, in a split second, she would have said, I don't know what Jasper, and went on and moved on without looking it up. And that's how it's all connected, because I am sure, I can't speak for Deborah, but I'm sure that there's a part of you, Deborah, that when you looked at it and read that, like, oh my God, that was spirit. That was, I heard something, which again is a motivator and all that kind of stuff, which is so cool. So Deborah, thank you. Speaking of Deborah's talking about Jasper, ask your spirit guides their names. That's like the coolest thing to do. When I came up, I mean, I put here the two main spirit guides you have, besides your loved ones, like your mom, dad, whoever happens to be in spirit, the gatekeeper and the spirit helper. So the gatekeeper is the one that, exactly what it says, they protect you from everything. If there's somebody I'm reading, say, that had an experience with domestic violence, and like someone almost killed the person I'm reading, like was strangling her or choking her, and now he's in spirit. Of course, I wouldn't know that right away, but what my spirit gatekeeper would do is make sure I have extra levels of protection to make sure that that guy can't get near me, if in case he's not, at a place of learning and understanding what he did here. And, because we go through a process, right? And on just a side note, which kind of takes this home, is that I had to go up last weekend to do another filming for Lady of the Dunes. And as we were driving, I said to Helix, before we get to the cemetery, I got to do a quick meditation. And then when I was done, I'm like, that was weird. And he said, what? I said, I have extra protection. That's never happened to me. I said, I could feel like my guides, my gatekeeper putting an extra round of protection around me. I'm like, I know who we're meeting. I'm like, they're great people. And so we got there. Soon as we got there, Frank, the director, said, you're not going to believe this, Stephen, but you know how I talked a couple of months ago about another killer? I didn't realize his cemetery is right there. And that's why I had that extra layer of protection. And he looked at me and was like, they never fail you, do they? I'm like, I guess not. So that's what the gatekeeper does, making sure you're protected. The spirit helper is really cool because he or she is the one that helps. Like, if I'm reading somebody and say their mother died 6 months ago, they're going to come through. They come through hours after they cross. It doesn't matter. But if they come through, they may be not familiar with how to use their energy so I can connect with them. They may be very quiet, or it may be like stained glass over what I'm seeing, so it's harder for me to see what they're giving me. So Philip comes in and uses Dylan, rather, my spirit helper, will come in and actually aid in the energy. Will give his energy or hike up her energy so that the window unfogs and I can see better and I can hear her better. That's what they do. I meditated. I asked for gatekeeper, spirit helper. I can't tell if I did it separately or together because it's been a while. And I got Philip and I got Dylan. And when I meditated, I knew exactly what they looked like. I think I did them separately, and I could feel like, as I put in here, which is kind of funny, is Philip is like in armor. He's just like this, he's ready for battle. And Dylan is, I hate to say this, but Dylan just looks like he just smoked weed and he's like, whoa, I'll help you. Not that I smoke weed, I'm just saying, but that's what he looks like. But I love these two, and they've been with me forever. They're my right-hand men. I don't know if I've said this in my first class, I have Christmas ornaments. I'm going to be up all night because I'm going to have to find them and take pictures of them. I think I may have pictures of them. I found a little, looks like a little like an armor guy So that's Philip. And then I found this like hippie looking dude ornament. So they're on my Christmas tree. So I have Philip and Dylan, and they, and when I was in another class, the instructor said that they change. And that's something too, just like I love what Phyllis talked about when she's in a, not in the greatest mood and she meditates. And that's exactly opposite what I said, is that when the instructor told me that, I'm like, no, like that doesn't work for me. I don't want new gatekeeper and spirit helper. And that's the greatest thing, is that that's what you get to, you control, it's your own. And Philip and Dylan have been with me, and I have said countless times, you guys are never leaving me. Until I meet you in spirit, you're not going. It's like when you've got, you connect with Archangel Michael, or you're not gonna let that go, right? They're with you, you pray to them, that's your go-to. Philip and Dylan, same thing for me. And they know me. So and I know them. And that's how I could figure out the extra layer of protection, because I know Philip so well that, like, I don't feel it, but the fact that he did something different to me and gave me an extra layer of protection, I could feel that. And I told Elix and had no idea when we got there what Frank was about to tell us or tell me and Elix, so, which is kind of cool. So, but do that, and it is the first name. And if you don't get a name, don't force it. It just means that they're coming, and try it again. But when you hear that first name, guy, girl, when I told Elix, Philip and Dylan, honestly, he said to me, do you have two guys because you're gay? I'm like, that's kind of, first of all, that's discriminatory. And secondly, all my clients are women. So I don't know, but it is two guys, It's just the banter that goes back and forth with me and Elix, right? But he loves them too. He actually even knows them. And when he pulls the ornaments out, if he happens to get the bag, I swear we'll say, here's Philip and Dylan. He knows them, which is really cool. 8, trust in your own gift. I mean, I know I've talked about this, and I can talk again till the cows come home. The trusting element is so huge. And here, I love this tip. Just like you can assign signs to particular spirit, you can do the same for much more. You can tell your loved ones in spirit that you want your father's side of the family to come in on your left side, your mother's side of the family to come on the right. That's really important once you start getting even better at this, and knowing, like, if your mom's side's coming through, your father's side's coming through. If you've ever had readings with me, I probably will comment, is it your dad's mom because it's coming from this side, because dad's side's this side, mom's side's this side. If it feels right, you can do it, but it's an easy way for me to figure out whose side it is. And I'm usually pretty right when I'll say, that's mom's mom, right? Because I can feel her pushing me here, and it's maternal side. So you can do that and apply that with anything you want at all. Any questions before, like, I go on to the clairvoyance piece at all? Anything on the signs, on anything I spoke about? We're all good?
Good.
Did you have something, Deborah?
Sorry. So of course we're talking about this. So I decided to say to myself, okay, what is my gatekeeper's name? I'm sorry, my spirit helper, because I got Jessica. And loud and clear comes Thomas. Thomas, okay, great, Thomas. Go look it up. It means twin for the Gemini that I am.
Not a surprise.
Not a surprise. So, I mean, you're right. This is how quickly it happens. And I'm actually grateful in this class because I think it's open because of all of you in the class.
Oh, absolutely, Deborah. And I love you said that. It's everybody's
I think that's
energy.
Amazing.
Everybody's
Absolutely
energy.
amazing.
And something that I probably never brought up, which is a great point, because when I went to that medium in Massachusetts in 2010, the one that told me I was a medium and I didn't know it, in an email, and I actually still have all the emails, in an email she sent to me, Stephen, when I was coming into that venue of 90 people, something had happened, I think, personally with her, a family member or something, that she was exhausted. And she said in this email, the only way I was able to do that night was that I saw your energy and you just lent me all of that energy to be able to bring people through in spirit. That's exactly the same premise as what Deborah said, is that everybody, every one of you has your energy here. So you're helping each one of you that have these connections, and just Deborah getting the spirit helper's name, and everybody else had shared these signs, which is it's pretty amazing. So so let me go on to I wanted to also focus on the clairvoyance, because a lot of you have clairvoyance. You know, I shouldn't say a lot of you, all of you have clairvoyance. You may have another gift that is stronger than that, like being an empath or hearing things or clear knowing. But for anybody who's above and beyond the mainstream, the clairvoyance piece is like the best way, I guess, for me to say this, like it's the default. It's like it's there all the time. But a lot of times the issue is not thinking you're crazy when you see something, or not connecting what you're seeing. I put here, you know, I put it explaining what the word clairvoyance, where it comes from, what the meaning is. You have the ability to see, well, anything, the future, gain information about a subject, an object, or location. It's called clear seeing. But the amazing thing about clairvoyance, and again, you know, I sometimes do it like have a cheat sheet and just ask anybody that is one of your connections, someone in spirit that's connected to one of you here, because everyone's here, and just said, I'm correct, they all clairvoyant, right? And I just got like the thumbs up. So this is like a cheat sheet I do when I have spirit, right? And they said, yes, it's not, I didn't need that validation, I know that, but it's kind of cool that I just got that validation. But the clairvoyant piece is voluntary and involuntary. The voluntary is the majority of what I get, what like Kristen McKim talked about with seeing her kitty. That was whether Kristen, that may have sounded or felt like it was involuntary. Then there had to be a part of you when I connected with your cutie cat, that it's almost like the missing, or if Matt misses the cat, whatever the case may be. So, and it's just kind of like follows that voluntary piece. And I'll explain the involuntary so you'll understand more so. And I know it's voluntary too, Kristen, because the cat is at the level of like the family. I don't know if this was your cat, if it was Matt's cat, if it was both your cat, but it's more the present. It's like it's your family, so I know it's voluntary. That's the usual, right? And you get the voluntary clairvoyant things, symbols, signs, whatever you're seeing, subjectively, objectively. Again, the voluntary and subjective is the majority of what we get. Objective just means that you see me, that's how you see it. And I don't even really see that. I think I told you in the first class, so like the first time I saw a man outside our bathroom that was in spirit. This is really the first time I've actually seen that. So most of us, it's all subjective in our third eye, third mind, third ear, third feeling, you know, third smell. It's that. It smells a little bit different because you actually do smell it. It's more of objective. But in any case, so the voluntary is that you could, if you ask for a sign and then you ultimately see a sign, if you are thinking about your mom and, you know, your mom loved roses, and, you know, you go to a store and there's a guy selling roses and looks at you and says, you know, would you like a rose? Or they're just handing them out. Those are all voluntary signs, symbols, clairvoyant things. Here, even though it says here, when you're deliberately wanting to connect with spirit, again, the example I just used about your mom, whether you know this, and I know it may be a little bit confusing, but you still deliberately wanted it, right? You miss her so much. You want a sign. That's what this is about. You deliberately want something. For all of you, it's all going to be deliberate because you've got gifts, you've got connections, and you're here because you want to get better, right? So it's you're starting in this class deliberately, right? You want more. So it's deliberately, and even though deliberately is still going to be that voluntary piece. I also put here, and I want to make sure I'm not missing anything about, you can do this with your eyes open or closed. I talk about intention here. I also put here, which is kind of interesting, when I first started, anytime I was seeing things, like when I did a meditation in intention that I wanted to see things, my eyes were always closed. Now I can't see them really closed. I have to have my eyes open. So again, as I was just talking about how your gifts change for whatever reason, I don't know if it's your physical, because we're all physically different. Maybe, I don't know, physically, it's easier for me to see. I have to have my eyes open. You know, when I finish my meditation and I say, give me anything I need to know before this reading, I have to open my eyes. But I started with my eyes closed. Maybe that will even change and go back to closed eyes. I'm not really sure. So the involuntary is really, really cool. And the involuntary clairvoyant, and I want to just bring this up in case it happens, which I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it's happened to somebody already or it will. The involuntary piece is more about a grander scheme. So when I just said to Kristen McKim about her kitty, about, I know that's voluntary, because it's something associated with the family. It's something like whether it's the cat or a mom or dad, somebody that you miss, somebody that you knew. Involuntary clairvoyant is something that's at a higher level, that somehow, some way, your energy gets sort of sucked up into this energy that's not normally there. And in the example I just put about fishing, like there's 10 people that go fishing, and that, you know, in this very strong river, and one of the persons out of the 9, I think I used 10, sort of goes a little bit farther out, or to go swimming rather, and gets pulled up in the flow and just can't stop, right? It's you know, I can't think of, like when you're in the ocean and they tell you to swim horizontally, whatever.
The
I can't think of,
undertow.
undertow, got it. In any case, that's sort of like where they were, and they got pulled, but they were afloat, they were okay. And then ultimately, it's almost like then you swim sideways and you get out of it, and you're just a little further down from all your friends in the river. But when you're in that flow, you, like any of the energy that was there, you're privy to, you're picked up, you're part of, and that energy is something that's a grand scheme. That could be there's an earthquake coming. That could be there's a huge fire coming, a plane crash coming. A lot of times they're not the greatest, they're disasters, but again, I think it really is just for spirit to give us the heads up, to maybe somehow, I don't know if this makes any sense, to prevent something. I don't know. There's a lot that I don't know about involuntary clairvoyant episodes, but it's just something that, you know, hands down, it is involuntary. And I put here that I have an experience that I was not going to write down, that I was going to share, because I've been going back and forth whether I wanted to share this, but it's like the perfect example of involuntary. And I'm like, well, why does it have to be this, right? But I'm going to share it anyway. So I want to share this with like close friends of mine, very close friends of mine. And let me just preface this with, please, as much as you can, this is not about politics. Even my mediumship, my radio show, my website, my Facebook page, my Instagram, you will never see politics coming out, right? That's not what this is about for me. It's mediumship. Unfortunately, the example is politics, but it's a great example, and I have no way to go around it, right? So I don't care, Republican, Democrat, to me, it does not matter. So let's pretend we erase everything, and all of us haven't even picked. We know nothing, right? We have absolutely nothing about anybody. In the summer of 2019, I was getting ready to go to court, and I went into the closet to start getting dressed, to put a suit on. I reached up to get a shirt, and I tell you, it felt like it was about 20 seconds, but in turn, it really was about a couple of seconds. It flew so fast. But it was the clearest I have ever seen, ever. So I think it was August of 2019. I grabbed the shirt, and I could see what was happening in the election in 2020. I could see everything. I could see Trump losing. I could see chaos. I could see the guns. I could see this. I could see that. And and it stopped. And we had an ottoman in the closet. I sat down because it was like, what the hell was that? Like, and it wasn't about the message. For me, it was about, what was that? I've never felt that. it was like I was in November 2020 when the election was coming and the results were coming out and everything that was connected to it. That's an involuntary clairvoyant piece. Same thing would happen like if I reached for the shirt and I saw a plane and I saw the plane coming down. Same thing. I saw an earthquake. I saw a fire. Now, let me just tell you that it was so different for me because I had never experienced that. And I got to be honest, the only reason why I'm saying this example is because it's never happened again. And it's the only one I have. But I want everybody to know what it's like, because it would not be surprising if one of you, two of you, 11 of you all have that at some point as this keeps getting better and better, because you guys are all different and you've got so much energy. And if you allow it and trust it, it's going to happen. So I came out of the bedroom and Elix said to me, "Why is your face so red?" And I'm like, "I don't know what I just saw." He was like, "Well, tell me." So I told him about what had happened. And I told people that were very close to me in this very close inner circle. The night of the election, of course, now Elix and I are watching the election. And he said to me, well, Elix doesn't watch any elections because he's a baby and he's too afraid and whoever he wants. He just doesn't watch elections, right? And he makes the medium, right? The one that cries at BMB watch. So I'm watching, and so we're getting ready to go to bed. And I get a text from somebody I told, and they made a comment about, I know you, Stephen, and I know what you said. And again, this is not about whether she wanted it, didn't want it. It didn't matter. It was just about what I gave. And I shut the TV off and I said, it doesn't look like what I saw was happening on TV. And I'll never forget this. And I said to Elix, I said, but there's a but. I said, and the but is the biggest but for me, is that it's happening. There's no way I saw that and that was not happening. From every fiber in my body, I saw it and I saw the chaos. And then the next day, ultimately, we know what happened. And of course, the people in my close circle were calling me. And it really, again, wasn't about who won or lost. It was about, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, because people didn't think that was going to happen. And that's the involuntary piece. That's never happened again to me. You know, whether it will or whether it won't, I got to tell you, it's a feather in my cap because I got to share and experience that. And, you know, it really stinks that it couldn't have been. I mean, I hate to say that, well, why couldn't I see a plane crash? Not that I would ever want a plane crash, right? But at least it's easy to tell, right? Because, you know, politics are so heated up and stuff. So, but it's one thing that I just wanted to share. That's what involuntary is. It's when you get to like a master level of something big that's happening, not our pets, not our loved ones, something much, much bigger. Again, about a war, about another country, about a bridge collapsing, like something big. I bring that up, the involuntary too, is because that just goes to show you the nature of this, of when you are connected, what the possibilities are to connect to. It's endless. It does not stop. It just keeps going and going. And even for me, when I think, wow, like how is that going to be beat? It's beat, and it just gets beat, and like I just get something different and bigger and bigger. It's just make sure you know that. And I say, Helix actually said to me, we were doing something. He said, you know, Stephen, we were talking about what we like about each other, and Helix said to me, what I love about you is that it's possible just because you say it is. And you know, I never really said that, but when he said it to me, I just thought that is like the best statement ever, right? For everybody or anybody, is that it's possible because I say it's possible. So now I know that for me and for you guys, it just is, it's unlimited. This connection, the clairvoyance, the clairaudience, all the stuff that you're getting and all these connections. So, and I will apologize, you know, if I offended anybody. I just hope that this, again, I clearly took everything out, politics. It's not about that. It's just about this involuntary clairvoyant episode, you know, a premonition. That's what it was about. And if, you know, it doesn't have to be that big, just like Krista McKim's, you know, kitty experience and so many of the other validations, to know that you've got to wrap that around you and remember that trust. You're connected. That's what it's all about. I just talk about also different ways to receive messages. You can actually even do them. Some people think it's deja vu, but it's like, it's just you're dreaming during the day, daydreams. You can get connections, changing in vision, such as flashes or light feed. I think I told you the first class, the buzzing in my ear was also something that you would think is just clairaudient, but it could in turn turn to something clairvoyant, that they're letting me know they're coming, and then I spot something or see something. Again, strange words popping into your mind, all these kind of things. And this is just a list. There's just so much other stuff. I told you guys about this too. There, you know, when you're meditating, or even if you just want to connect to spirit and you just keep like rubbing here to get your third eye moving and going. There's another little thing that I can't do because it bothers me, but I was taught that I think works, is that if you're getting ready to connect, is to roll your eyes, like look up and keep it there for like 5 seconds or so. I've tried that, and maybe it's just me. It's almost like my eyes don't want to come down, and I don't feel right, and so I don't do it. But it's just something to keep in mind. It's just one of those little, I don't know, it's those little, another cheat sheet of like, if you're getting ready to connect and you want to just roll your eyes up, what it's supposed to do, and I think it does, is it sort of activates the pituitary gland and the pineal gland, which is really the glands that help us connect to spirit. Different ways to see clairvoyantly. You know, that's another thing that connects to these signs and stuff, is that I think I put in here too, that if you're, again, I just use the shower because it's a way that you're up and your eyes are closed, right? Because that doesn't happen a lot unless you're meditating. But in the shower, if you close your eyes, and it happens to me a lot, you'll see things. A lot of times I'll close my eyes for a second, like to shampoo my hair, whatever, and I see blue spots quickly. That's always angels. So when you see blue spots across the board, if you see blue spots, angels all around you. Or you may see red spots, or you may see the color orange or red. So many times, especially when you're connected, there's a meaning to it. And again, I always use the red piece, is that if you keep seeing the red color, and then that same afternoon, you know, you have to pull over because it's like 3 or 2 fire trucks coming by heading to a fire. It's because you tuned into that, you connected to that energy, you connected to that fire. You know, that's a psychic level, that it's actually, whether it's already happened or it's going to happen, you've connected to the people that live in that house or live in that apartment. That's how you kept getting the red. And spirit is sort of looking at you like, I don't know, like I want to show them because they're connected. What do we do? What do we do? They'll see a red color. That's how it works. Those are very easy to miss though, because, you know, they happen very quick. Even the dots, I didn't know what the blue dots were. And, you know, and sometimes, you know, you go online and there could be a million explanations for seeing blue dots. If you type in, like, you know, connection to spirit or something with the spirit world and said blue dots, you get 1,700 different things. But no, that's, you know, that's this, that's this, that's this. And then it's like, how do you know what it is? So I just asked spirit, what are these? And then I just saw an angel, and it was really cool that afternoon. I was in a store or something, and this little girl was with her mother, and she had this pretty big size angel that was hanging on a string, and she almost knocked me over, and she flew by me. And right when she got by me, she said to her mom, "I want this angel." And I'm like, okay, so blue dots are angels. So thank you. So it was a really, really good validation to get. And again, a sign that I could have interpreted as that, oh, that's cool. Like the little kid that almost killed me. And it's an angel, but I don't necessarily had to connect it to, oh my God, I just asked and thought it was angels. Now it's an affirmation, so which is really cool. So that's pretty much the abstract pictures and how you see things, colors, stars, patterns, numbers. A lot of times for people, the colors or whatever you're seeing are repetitive. And the great thing to do when you see that, just like I've talked about, if you don't know what the heck it is, I don't know, why do I keep seeing orange or blue or yellow, whatever the case may be, just again, thank spirit. Somebody is sending it to you. Whether you're connecting to the energy, like the red example I used, and the fire, then you're connecting to the fireman that's going to the fire, or the person living there, or the actual fire, because it's energy. Somehow, some way, something is connected to it. So if you thank the whoever's giving the validation, or thank you for letting me see the color. And I think, as Deborah said, ask the question, like, what is it? You know, that was one of the things that was the hardest for me, is even up until this day, is when I do readings, that I should be more, what's your name? How did you die? Asking questions. And I don't. I get so wrapped up into just the messages are coming that I just share. But there's sometimes that I should be directing and asking, because it's going to elicit something that maybe I didn't get. And if I asked, I most likely would have got, especially like a name or something like that. So the visual mental memory piece, that clairvoyant piece, is really cool too, because that's the essence of who we are in our experiences. I say this all the time, that anything that we get via spirit, any kind of message, is always connected somehow, some way to your experience. So if I'm reading somebody and I see Tommy's Pizza that is in Rhode Island, and Elix and I go to Tommy's a lot of times, I'll see Tommy's Pizza, and then I know I have to say, someone work in Rhode Island, someone live in Rhode Island, what's the Rhode Island connection? Even if someone I'm reading is from Florida, and lo and behold, they'll tell me there's some connection. It's my experience, right? Spirit uses it because they know I've been to Tommy's. It's in my realm. It just goes on and on and on. You know, let me think. A belt. Like, when I think of a belt, some reason in my experience, because I think I had a friend years ago that was in a really bad place, and shared with me how she was beat with the belt as a young girl, and the stories were horrific. It just went on and on and on. So in my experience, in my realm, as soon as I hear a belt, I think that. So if spirit is talking about, it was a very hard relationship, and sometimes even domestic violence, if I'm reading somebody, I'll see a belt, and right away I know, oh my God, this is being beat, or this is being abused. That's what spirit does, is they need to do that, because if you don't have a frame of reference, it's going to be very difficult. If I see a belt, I'm just going to think, I don't know, did you just buy a belt? Is someone's pants falling down because they don't have a belt? I don't know where to go with it, but they use the frame of reference of what you've experienced. The movie vision, I talked about that earlier. I got to be very honest that I'd be very jealous if any of you guys, which I'm sure probably you do, see little clips. I want to see them, and I don't see them anymore. Not that I'm complaining, because I still get my information, but they're really cool though. They're very, very cool to get to see. Sometimes they're like almost like if you're on I don't know, like slides of a DVD or something, and they line up, or an actual movie, a little projector that just moves, which is really cool. And the premonition vision goes along with the involuntary clairvoyance piece I talked about that I saw. That premonition vision, I know it's going to be very surprising to hear. I would guarantee you, I won't put any money on it, but I would guarantee you that every single one of you has had more than one premonitions. There's no question when I look at all of you, with the connection you guys have, but premonitions are also very, very hard to remember. And anytime you are not at the place of trusting, it's almost like a sort of like a barometer, thermometer, whatever you may call it, that like when you do a fundraiser and they have that thermometer or barometer that they fill up and it keeps going and going. It's almost like your trust factor has to be, like, say it's here, your trust factor has to be here or higher. And if it's down here somewhere, whether you know it or not, and you're not really believing in your gift and you're not trusting, premonitions are almost impossible, because a lot of premonitions happen overnight in dreams. You don't remember it. And even though you've had these wild premonitions and know what's going on, you don't remember it. And it's all connected to trust, the confidence, all of it. And even like myself, that premonition, when I went to reach for the shirt, if I was in a place of not believing or not feeling good about myself, or I'm not connected, I probably, if I had to guess, I probably would say when I grabbed the shirt, I'd feel like a little sensation, but I either would have had it so fast I wouldn't have understood it, or I just wouldn't have remembered it. And that's the difference, is that the premonitions, every single one of you has had premonitions. It's just whether you've both remember them is a whole different ball game. So I'm going to lastly talk about remote viewing, unless anybody has any questions. What smart people? Everyone's like, go, Stephen, go. So remote viewing is something that I put, like, I think I put this example together and I love it. And I've never even, I gotta be honest, I never even tried it. I'm gonna try it though, because what remote viewing is that, and it dates back, as I put here, ages, like before there was any kind of technology, people used remote viewing all the time, but didn't really, I don't think necessarily knew it was remote viewing, meaning like if they weren't close, it's like a child or so, they would actually use, a lot of times they would either meditate, again, whether they knew they were meditating or not, and like just think about sort of like a Reiki thing, like sending energy, think about where their daughter or son was, and actually tune into them and stop picking things up around them or what's going on with them. That's remote viewing. And I love the quote from William Blake: if the scales of perception fell from our eyes, we would see everything as it really is, infinite. It's so brilliant. But remote viewing is something that is part of all of your gifts, and it is it's a skill that also needs to be honed in on, and it's an easy way to do this. The example here that I write is, and I'll say this very quickly, is that you pick someone. And of course, I gotta be honest, when I was writing this, like putting this in the paper, I was thinking of Phyllis and Priscilla. I'm like, oh my God, these two sisters can do this so easily. They have each other, but any one of you, siblings, friends, it doesn't matter. You just, you pick a time, and it can be 10 minutes, so it's not long. Like say you pick a Sunday and you say, you speak to a friend. I'm just gonna use Priscilla and Phyllis, just because they're sisters and I have them here. So they both speak to each other and say, Sunday at noon, from noon until noon, I was gonna say noon 15. I need wine, or I'm tired, I don't know what it is. 12:15, noon. I can't believe I was going to say that. Noon or noon 15, noon or 12:15 or 12:10, whatever the case may be. I'm going to be the one. So let me pick. Priscilla will be the one who's doing remote viewing. So Phyllis is going to be like the sender. So Phyllis is going to, at 12 o'clock, she's going to go someplace. She's not going to stay in her apartment, because I'm assuming Priscilla knows the apartment, knows what it looks like. And let's just go, even if you don't, say you do. So Phyllis is going to go, say, to a quiet place she loves to go meditate, right? Say it's, let's, for all intents and purposes, say it's what I talked about, like a woods and a cranberry bog, something like that. And so she goes there. Priscilla has no idea where she's going. At 12 o'clock, she's there. And right before 12, like a minute before, they both have set their intention, and that Phyllis starts looking around and thinking, okay, there's a little shack there, and specifically looks at the shack, like the color of the shack, the size of the shack. Are there windows in the shack? And she starts thinking about it and visualizing it, and then starts in her brain, in her head, in her mind's eye, starts almost taking the snapshot and sending it to her sister, Priscilla. She's sending it. Now, Priscilla has no idea what Phyllis is. She has absolutely no idea. And then Phyllis does the same after the little shack. Maybe, I don't know, maybe where the cranberry bog is the water and the waterfall, or maybe there's flags in the ground and they're yellow flags. She just keeps doing that. And when Priscilla, 12 o'clock comes, she's all set, she's done her intention, energy, feeling, all that. she starts, and we're going to do a quick remote viewing, which I think is really cool, meditation. Priscilla starts being open to getting that information, getting those pictures, that stuff that her sister's sending her, and just starts with a piece of paper, just breathing and just letting whatever's coming in. I want you to take me to where my sister is. I want to be standing next to Phyllis. And at the same time, Phyllis is helping her by sending things. I want to be standing there. I want to see through Phyllis's eyes. Tell me what's there. What do I see? And things will start popping in. Or maybe one thing will pop in, and then Priscilla writes it down. And at 12:10, or as I say, noon 10, she's going to get it back on the phone, and they're going to share information. And I'm telling you, it is just the coolest thing. You know, and it may not be spectacular. You may not get anything the first time if you don't try it a second time, because it's simple, especially because you don't know where the other person is, but the other person is helping. It's like a two-way thing. It's a two-way, you know, it's like sort of like running energy that's going back and forth. And that's what remote viewing is. It's teaching your brain, it's a sixth sense to be able to, just like all of connecting to spirit is, to connect with your loved ones. But by remote viewing, it's a very focused place, a specific place that you're, just like, I don't know, last week or 2 weeks ago when I said, I was talking about an exercise about putting a paper with all numbers, and you mix them around and you think, where's the 5? Same exact thing. It's just it's strengthening your gifts, those 2 glands I talked about. That's what it's about. But it's a fun thing. And you know what's really fun too is like if Phyllis also took pictures of the barn, just so that when Priscilla's writing it down, if she catches something, like Phyllis was like, you know, like, holy crap, like that's the color. It's got one window, or whatever the case may be. It's a validation, and that can work anyway. You don't need 2 people. You could just focus on anything. You could focus on someone's house, and even if you know the house, and just see if something pops up, like a lamp. And if a lamp pops up, then the next day or the same day, call that person, whoever it is, and say, by any chance, did you move a lamp or get a lamp? And I guarantee they'll say, I just moved a lamp, or I just bought a lamp. That's what remote viewing is. And that's just, it's one of those things that you don't have to do daily, but when you do it, it's not only a great motivator, but it sharpens your gift. Like it's like sharpens the tool, it sharpens the gift. So does that make sense for everybody? Remote viewing? It's good. So this is how, let me just make sure before I do this. So this is all the exercise, but play with it. It's really fun. Or do a variation of it. It doesn't matter. It's pretty cool. All right, so let's just get really comfortable. And we're going to just I'm just going to go through a remote viewing, what it looks like and what to do when you're doing this remote viewing. So we're going to do the same thing we did last time. Close our eyes. We're going to get comfortable, and we're going to take 3 deep breaths. But right before we do that, all of you in your mind, just set the intention. So what I say, and a variation of this, I'm setting my intention that I am about to do an exercise in remote viewing. And my intention is to have the best remote viewing I could possibly have. So we're going to take in 3 deep breaths. So again, we breathe in or inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth, and we're going to hold it for about 5 seconds. So let's breathe in and with our eyes closed and hold it. And exhale, and just feel your body just go right into the chair or the bed, wherever you're sitting. So let's do a second breath in, inhale. Hold it. And exhale, just feel your legs, your arms, your hands, everything just sinking in and getting just more and more comfortable. And let's do a third breath in. and hold it. And exhale. And so now in front of you, there is what looks like a box, and it can be any size box you want. Small, big, it doesn't matter. And you just can see the box in front of you. And again, this is using your third eye, remote viewing, excuse me. And then on top of the box, regardless of the size, and you can make it any color, it can be black, blue, white, it doesn't matter. It could have no color. But once you get the vision of that box, and if it's hard in your third eye to like see that box, don't get frustrated. You know, some people it's very easy to see in their third eye, and some people it takes a little bit. But just go along with me with this, because it will get better. So you see this box, just a plain box. And then you look at the top of the box and you notice that the top of the box is solid. It's a box that's not opened anywhere. It almost looks like a crate and no openings whatsoever. It's very smooth. And on the top, all of a sudden you see in the center of the top of this box that's right in front of you, something that's starting to appear. And the more you look at it, the more you look at it, you realize it's an apple. It's a really nice size apple that's right in the middle or the center of this crate or box, if you will. And it has a stem, a long stem. And it has about 3 leaves, green leaves, protruding right at the bottom of the stem. And parts of it are very red. And from where you're looking, you can't see the back of the apple, but you can tell that one side is a little bit more faded than the other side that's bright, bright red. So as you see this box and you see this apple that's on top of the box, almost like if your eyes were a camera, or you're using your iPhone or any kind of phone, and you want to take a picture and you need to zoom in. Staring at that apple, start zooming in. That could mean that you don't move and the box comes closer to you, or you move, or both. But you get closer and closer to this box in this apple. And when you're close enough, you start looking at the specifics of this apple. You start looking at the stem. And what you couldn't notice before is at the top of the stem, it's split in about 3 or 4 ways. It's sort of frayed. And then you also notice that the bottom of the stem is a little darker than the top of the stem. And then you get even closer and you see that in the middle of the stem, there's like a little indentation. It almost looks like someone put their fingernail in it or cut it. And then you look at the leaves, these 3 green leaves, again, coming out of the base of the stem. And you noticed each one is a little different shade of green than the other. And the one that's the furthest away from you, you can tell or see that the top of that leaf is ripped a little bit. And there's a top of the leaf is missing. It's almost like a little beetle just ate the top of the leaf and then just left. And the other 2 leaves are full leaves. And then when you notice another of the leaves, that there's a little speckle of dew, just like the apple was left out in the morning and it was a cold morning and it's starting to get warmer, and you just get dew on certain things outside. And you see in that particular leaf, there's like 3 or 4 little dewdrops of water. Then you look at the other leaf that has the little bite in it, no dew. And you look at the third one, no dew. Just that one. So you have one leaf that's bitten at the top, one leaf that has several little dew bubbles, and the other leaf that's nothing. It's just a regular leaf, just a plain leaf. Oh, no, then you look a little closer and you see there's a line going up the leaf, a little vertical line that doesn't go all the way up. It stops about halfway. Then you look at the base, you put your eyes a little bit further down, you look at the base of the apple. And because you're closer, then you can see there's marks on it, other dents, just like you saw a dent in the stem. And same thing, it almost looks like someone put their fingernail in the apple, just a little nick. And you're dying to see the other side of that apple. So you see one side, as I mentioned, that's bright red, the other side's a little bit faded. So you just ask that apple or the crate to turn. And either the crate or the apple or both just shift and turn, in a circular motion, and you see the side that you hadn't seen. And because it turned on that leaf that was in the back, you see underneath a little ladybug. So then you get to see the ladybug. You can actually see his little legs or her little legs and the spots on her. She's not moving. But the back of the apple is a combination of the front. Some of it is brighter red and some of it is a little faded red, which just a little specks of almost green in the apple. And one amazing thing to do with remote viewing is that after you've looked at this apple and you've seen it and you know exactly what the specifics, the details of this apple are, you see a knife on the side of the crate. Just lift up and just cut the apple right in half, so it falls on either side. And then the knife just goes right back flat on the crate and then just disappears. And then you lean in because you're close to the apple and you smell the apple now that it's cut. And just smell that apple, smell what the apple smells just like a regular apple that's cut. And for people who love apples, almost wanting just to bite the apple, but you smell it too. And then you lean back and you notice that the crate is moving further away. And so is the apple that's on top of the crate, until it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller and just disappears. And then you have just a blank screen. So you remember, before we come out of this, that you thank Spirit, anybody who you want to thank for this remote viewing that helped, because there's always somebody helping with your gift. Just thank them. And knowing that it benefited you, and that the next time you do this, it's going to get better and better and better. And remembering that it benefited your entire gift, not just remote viewing. That's what this is all about. So we're going to take one last breath in before we come out of it. So same way, inhale through your nose. and hold it. And exhale. And anytime you want to open your eyes, you can. So why this is so important and so crucial is that it's honing in on the skill. It's just giving exactly the example I gave with Phyllis and Priscilla. It's exactly the same thing. The better you get at it, and the more specifics and the more details you get at it, that's remote viewing. Exactly the example I gave about with Priscilla and Phyllis, that's exactly the same thing, is that you're not in the location where you're remote viewing something. And the more you do that, the great thing about that is what I just did, we took, I don't know, 10 minutes, whatever the case may be. That can be something that if you're in the car wash, you can do, or if you're waiting to pick up the cleaners, anywhere you can do that. Just think of something and quickly do an intention and remote view. And that's it. It's just, again, it doesn't just help your remote viewing talent or skill, it helps everything. Because remember, as I talked about, I think the first class, these are not compartments with your gift. Everything moves at the same time. You benefit one part, the other part's being benefited. So whether you know it or not, the remote viewing we just did benefited your clear scent. The next time you smell something, you would think that's got nothing to do with it. Sure it does. We had a part in there of smelling. So you're going to smell your mom, grandmother sooner than later. That's what it's all about. So any questions at all on the remote viewing, the class? Does it make sense? Anything at all? Did I ramble? I don't want to hear anything about noon 15. I'm just saying, I can't believe I just did it. And it's recorded. I mean, that's not right. Just saying.
I feel great.
Good. I'm glad. As I mentioned, I love doing this. And one thing I think I may have said last time is that this is the third class, and I got to tell you, all the auras as I go around, and I do this in every class, is so healthy. Like, so, I mean, not that none of your auras were not healthy, but like way more healthy. And it makes sense that you're connecting, you're in this class, you're connected to spirit, you're motivated, you're in, just having that enthusiasm. So everything is good. So, but that's all I got for tonight. But thank you everybody for letting me do this. Remember now, next class is in 2 weeks. So you've got a break from me. And then in 2 weeks, we will resume. And I got to tell you, I probably say this every time that I looked over in 2 weeks class, and I'm dying to do it. I'm just so excited to do it. This is so cool. It's really, really great to get to share this new stuff for me. So again, even though I'm away, any questions, just shoot me an email. You know where to find me. But thank you guys. Again, it's always an honor to get to do this. And the greatest thing is I recorded it right from the beginning. So.
Thanks, Stephen.
A win-win.
So much.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thank
night.
you.
Lots
Thanks so
of love to
much.
all you
Thank
guys.
you.